happy people? Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a life crafted page in my Miami Beach album. I have a few beachy photos left, and as much as I thought that the Cocoa Daisy Wayfarer collection was very much like a cold dish beach sort of collection, and it definitely worked for that. There's a lot of tealy blues in this collection that I think will work with these tropical photos. I also want to use this Splish Splash from Color Cast Designs, as well as some of this wood veneer if I can work it in, but I really want to work around this Splish Splash acrylic piece. That was the word I was looking for, acrylic piece. So that is where I'm starting today. Let's go. So I really had no idea what I was going to do with this page other than the fact that I had pulled out stuff that I thought would work with the vibe of the photos. I knew I kind of wanted to use this pocket, but I didn't know what I wanted to put in it. And I knew I wanted to use this tag because I had a palm tree and I thought it would work this collection into the theme a little bit better if I had this palm tree. So I work with layering these two photos. They're obviously repetitive photos. They're telling a story. Well, the story that's going to be told is that we bought matching swimsuits while wandering Miami Beach, and then we tried to take a picture and we kept getting knocked over by waves, which thus the splish splash portion of this. The thing is, I haven't trimmed down these papers yet to 5 inches wide. So they're like 6 inches wide right now. And I'm not going to have this much room on this page that I think I have right now. So I'm going to trim down these papers in just a minute. I'm going to realize it. But so initially I was going with a fairly normal concept for this page of just some beautiful layering, something pretty simple. But then as soon as I realized that these are not the right size, which is what I just did, then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I have a way less room here than I thought I was going to have, so let's rework this. So then I thought to myself, let's do a flip out with this tag. I always like to work in these tags that come in the Cocoa Daisy collections wherever possible because they're not quite 8.25 inches tall. You can see it's a little bit shorter than that. So sometimes they're like, I want to use them as like dividers or whatever, but they don't quite fit the right height for that. So I figured that a tag flip out with this would work and give me that extra room that I needed to layer a little bit more and have a little bit more fun with this page. So I'm going to put one photo on the outside of this tag with this Splish Splash, and you can see that the Splish Splash is a little bit too wide for the tag itself. It's basically can go edge to edge on the tag, but it was just overhanging a little bit and I wanted it to be a little bit more stable than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this hinge for this tag, and then what I'm going to do is put this Every Summer Has a Story on the inside, and then I'm going to mat the photo that I'm going to put on top of the tag with a 3x4 card. The photo itself is 2.75 by 3.75. I like to take 1/4 of an inch off on my photos so that I can mat them if I want to, and also I just like the smaller size. I initially thought that I would maybe pull some vellum, but I didn't like the way that that looked, so I'm actually going to mat it on this 3x4 card that has the same pattern as the paper on the left hand side. And I like the continuity of that. I like the symmetry. I'm going to rough up some of the edges on these pages or on these cards and things that I choose to put down a little bit just for fun. And you can see that now that I have that photo matted, it gives it just a little bit more oomph and gives the Splish Splash just a little bit more room to secure itself to the outside of that tag. So I glued it down with liquid glue because this Nuvo liquid glue is super duper strong, and I know that it will hold on to that tag once it's dry. I want these to be layered so that they sort of are repetitive vertically. So I'm sort of just trying to figure out, or I was sort of just trying to figure out where I wanted that photo to go. I really liked the card that says there's a backstory here, but I didn't know, like I really wanted to put it in the pocket, but I needed the journaling to go in the pocket. So I thought about maybe doing a flip with it, but no, I'm just going to use it as a design element on this page. And I glued down this sun fun just for fun on top of my photo. And I thought about adding it to the pocket too, but instead I'm going to add this wood veneer that says bring on the sunshine and the vellum compass rose there. I glued down this vellum with liquid glue. I forgot that it will just totally destroy the vellum. So I'm going to pull it up. Luckily I had two. I'm going to pull it up and replace it eventually. But it starts to crinkle because I'm a big goober. And so I just put down, when I replace it, I just put it down with tape runner instead. I always forget that vellum and liquid glue do not go together. So I want to start doing my layering. There's a lot going on this page already, but I feel like there needs to be, it still feels really clean to me, even though there's a lot of interactivity. So I'm just trying to figure out how to make it look more visually interesting without adding too much to it that it looks cluttered. I'm going to use this as a pull for my journaling. And then I'm sort of just auditioning all of these different pieces that I have before I decide what I want to do. I'm just gonna shove this shell underneath this still kind of wet Splish Splash. I like the way that looks. It kind of overhangs the edge, and I'm not going to trim it off because I like it. It makes it kind of weird to open when it's flat against the desk, but when it's in an album there will be extra vertical room, and so it won't kind of rub against the background. So I decided I needed a little bit more color, so I pulled in this tag paper to back the card and the photo over here, and I'm roughing up the edges of the card again, and I'm going to rough up the edges of that paper too after I trim it. So I just like that little bit of texture that adds. I've been doing that a lot lately. It just makes it a little more interesting. And I feel like the roughing up of the edges on this page specifically kind of gives it that desert, stranded on a desert island vibe, which kind of works with the beachy vibe of this. Just sort of rough around the edges. Now I did struggle a bit with where I wanted to put the splishy splashies of this Splish Splash, but I decided that they would look really cool underneath here, sort of poking out. Yes, they're never going to be seen together, the splishy splashy word and the actual splishy splashies, but they still interact with each other when it's closed enough that it made me happy, and they have more stability there than they would have if I had put them on the flap. So that worked for me. So now I'm going to start with some more layering. I need to put this pocket down so that I can work around it. Okay, so now I decide that I want to use some of the word phrases on these black labels that came in the collection. And I have two sets because I think a set came in the, what's it called? The surprise kit too. So the thing is that I really liked them and I liked the phrases that were on them, but those big black bold outlines do not work with this page. So I'm just going to cut them off. I'm going to cut them off of every single one, going all the way to the thin black line instead. I probably could have cut off that thin black line too, but it did give it just enough oomph to stand out from that white background. And I'm going to rearrange those a little bit more too, because I felt like they were a little bit distracting the way that they were, just a little too repetitive. So I want to add this summer days, and I want to add it to the left hand side over here, but I can't make it work in a way that makes me happy with all three of those quotes there. Like, I liked them as a design piece, but I felt like it was just too much. So you can see I'm still fighting with it. I'm trying to make it work, but they're just not making me happy. So I'm going to put this back, maybe put this above, or put the wood veneer above the phrases. I still don't like that. It looks unbalanced to me. So I'm going to leave it there for a second while I think about it, and then I will come back to it. I wanted to add this stay cool. And then I'm going to add in some of the rub-ons that I have left. I wanted to add that summer, whatever it said, summer something or other, but it was too big and I have too many words going on already. And I definitely wanted to add in this seagull, so I'm going to put it here where it's a little bit more hidden and won't detract from the layout too much. So I add on this rub-on in between these two labels, and I just am not loving the way that that looked. I added the red ribbon to here and just some of this ephemera, and it's just not making me happy quite yet. So what I do is I take off the smaller one and put that wood veneer and sandwich it in between the labels and the journaling tag, and it works a lot better visually. It looks more balanced, but I still feel like there needs to be a little bit more vertical height on the clustering over here. So I'm actually going to take this seahorse and I'm going to sandwich him right there. And then I decided to take these words, these like script words from the memory keeping sticker kit, and I'm just going to incorporate them into the background. It doesn't even matter what they say to me, they're just becoming part of the background and making that background pop just a little bit more, because I felt like everything was just sort of fading in together on the right hand side and it was sort of bothering me. So I'm just working them around the cluster so that they're visible, but they're not like, you don't feel the need to necessarily read them. I'm going to add in some enamel dots and then I'm going to call it good. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There is a link to both Cocoa Daisy and Colorcast Designs in the description box below, and I will see you next time. Thank you.